Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome, everyone. We are here live streaming with a connection to Rome, Italy, with my guest today, who is here to share a unique method that she has developed that assists us all in living our life our way. This is Diana Dentinger with our quantum conversation for today. Diana, thank you. Welcome to Quantum Conversations.
Thank you, sweetie. How are you? Thank you for all the work. I just want to give, we say chapeau, no, hats off to Loren and all of her team. Until you are interviewed, you have no idea how much work you guys put into this. So thank you from all of us, really for all the contribution that you guys are doing. So thank you for having me today. We're going to have fun. I want this to be both a learning experience for people, a little bit, let's say, thought-provoking, as well as disruptive, because these are times of change. So go ahead, baby.
Thank you so much. Let's hear about you, because you really empower a lot of people right now in a tremendous way. So tell us a little bit about your awakening and how you got started in this.
I think that I was always a little bit different, if you want to put it that way. I've always had an inner voice. And fortunately, my parents gave me a lot of trust. They always said, "Oh, Diana, we trust your judgment." And, one thing is, I traveled around Europe as a graduation present from university. And I just had this voice that said, "Diana, you have to stay here." So you can imagine, I tell this story and I laugh about it. So here I am in London under Big Ben, pumping in 1984, pumping in all these coins into, a phone booth. Like, who sees phone booths anymore? Pumping the coins in and calling my dad and saying, I'm not going to be on the plane tomorrow to come back, and his, "What are you doing? A flower child, hippie, what are you going to do? Just hanging around in Europe?" And I tell you one thing, when I made that decision, like I'm sure so many listeners have had that shift moment of feeling so aligned to who they are. And I remember from London, I got on a train and then, crossed the English Channel and headed down to Germany because I spoke some German. And when I was on that train, I felt like I was really empowered. Like, this was my life. These were decisions that I was making. I felt so good. And I believe because of a lot of situations, a lot of life-changing turns that I've had in my life, and the feeling of empowerment that comes when it's just you, your consciousness, "Oh, this feels so right." That really motivates me to help people find that aha inside of them in ways that maybe aren't what everyone in their family has done. And that's so hard because we tend to, go down the beaten path. But I remember even back as a teenager, wasn't there that book, Zen and the Motor, what was that again?
Yeah, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Driving.
Yes.
Something like that.
And it's always, beat to your own drummer. And how many times have we heard phrases like that, but until we experience it, it's like, "Oh, now I get it. Now I get it." And I believe that in those kind of, moments, it's so essential to have a support group. People, like I say, hats off always even to my parents who have not made that an issue. Hey, we trust your judgment. If that is right for you, then go for it. That's big, in a lot of things, even in unpleasant situations, married and then divorced. They said the same thing. We trust your judgment. If things aren't working out, if you've tried, then go for it. And so I feel, honored to have earned that trust. And trust is such an important thing. And until you can trust yourself, that you're connected to yourself, and that inner guidance wants to speak to you, then maybe you rely too much on other people's advice or what they say, or if they trust you, or the confidence that you're getting from the outside. And we know that in any philosophy or any spiritual teaching or any real practical teaching is, know thyself, trust yourself, love yourself. And it takes exercise. It takes practice, I find, to get to that calm state of, oh, I got it. That's my journey. That's my path. So you tell me. Oh, no, we should, what we need to do? We need to tell people how we met.
Yes. Well, okay. First, Diana, I just want to say right on for going for it. You're actually following the feeling. That's following the heart. And I'm so glad that your parents supported you in that way, because some are not so fortunate to have that support. Some of us had to do it. I just watched Bohemian Rhapsody, and Freddie Mercury, he did this. He just was so authentic. And throughout his career, he got better and better. His voice became so much stronger and beautiful. He didn't have that support of his parents. So what a great head start that you have for this. So one thing I love about you as well is this pure dedication to your work here. Absolutely beautiful. So awesome.
Well, yeah, I, just to give a little bit of, I want the listeners to play. So prepare, a piece of paper, pen, pause if you're driving. Don't go doing the writing while you're driving. But first, let me share a little bit about sort of, why I do what I do. So I grew up in this enormous family, and both.
What's enormous? What's enormous?
Enormous is my, father having 7 brothers and 1 sister, my mother having 6 sisters and 1 brother. So already there was opposites. I feel like I've always lived in dualism, like from the very start. So here, look at the numbers already. 7 brothers, 1 sister, 6 sisters, 1 brother. And so here, my father's family is obviously more male energy and more rational, logical, success-driven, also musically very talented. And so, from their family, I gained that kind of determination to get out there. And then my mom's family, which is so much more feminine energy. And it was a different creativity, hair, makeup, colors, fingernails, fun, dance, music, a lot of personal expression. So, when you say that, it's an advantage, I believe, to have experience and be able, even if it wasn't always positive, or people didn't always get along, we really need to go back sometimes and appreciate what we can take from these experiences and say, wow, this formed me to be in a certain way, and this formed me. But anyway, I realized that these contexts were sort of contrasting, like even adaptability. I couldn't necessarily show up in my mom's family the way I would show up in my dad's family, because of the feel, because of the, the vibes, if you want to do it, or because of the values. Even though they were both very faith-oriented, self-confidence, there was a whole different feel. And I relate that even to, my career being, a lot of years, like 25 years in corporate training, how it just mirrored sort of like my father's family. But having a very intense spiritual journey, which sort of mirrored my mother's family. And how I realized that, these are just different expressions, but we all can express ourselves this way, both with the male energy, getting out there, being determined or success oriented, and the female energy, taking care of yourself, community. We just really did a lot of fun things in both contexts. And what I realized in my work is that since I've had both of these experiences, what I'll tend to do is sort of drip spirituality into the very logical, rational person, and what I find is that all of a sudden they blossom. Like this one man says, if you can imagine this, corporate training, team building, big, successful company. And this guy comes up to me as I drip spirituality into team building. And he comes up sort of at the coffee break and he says, you talk about some really interesting things that I've never shared it with anyone. But a couple weeks after my father died, I could have sworn he was standing by my bedside. And this is even, for the listeners or the watchers, how I find that, how you beautifully talk about, new earth is we need to begin to blend these contexts. So what I'm seeing is that there's the need for the spiritual drip droppings, that there's a bigger purpose in the corporate environment. And in the spiritual journey, there's actually, it can be so much more fulfilling when you get really down to earth. And, I say your life purpose is really down to earth. It's in your daily beingness 24/7. And I think what Lauren has really understood is, I've done lots of research and I speak a very scientific language, especially in coaching, because I find that at least sort of in the scientific languaging, then both of these, let's say, contrasting type of communities that I hang around with, they can both understand. And okay, so should let's start to play, and then I'll go on with this. Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to allow you a moment to share the quick story of how we met, because this is synchronicity, and it's a beautiful example of how souls align in more ways than we can understand in the moment. And we heard your soul song that was created by Boyd Sibley.
Yeah.
And that was you. And so how did that soul song help you?
Well, so we, I just wanted to close off I noticed that my mail was open. So every once in a while we get a little ding. This whole community that you've created, beautiful community. So again, thank you. There's so many people in your community, people that have been interviewed that I interviewed years ago, like Annama, and then her companion, Boyd Sibley. And we, do healing work with, Ed Stracher and April Richard. And it's just sort of like, it seems like this big family. And so, a couple of years ago, or it was probably a year and a half ago, I had my soul song done by Boyd. And he was so moved, and then I get I'm extroverted on interviews, but there's a very timid part of me that maybe a lot of people don't see. And I was so humbled when he said, Diana, your soul song was so beautiful. And these energies that came in when I was creating it. And he's like, can I please use that on my site? Can I use that when I do interviews? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so humbled. And so when he was interviewed by you over maybe a year ago, then you played my soul song. And so we joke around and say, oh, well, Lauren met me a year ago, energy vibration wise. And then, and then this all came to be. I wasn't ready to be interviewed a year ago because of the work that I've been doing to, let's say, package the personality profile so it can reach more people. And so, I'll get into a little bit more about how that was created. But first off, for the listeners, because I want us to start to play, because I find that one of the most spiritual ways of being is light. And that can be light in your heart because you have the open heart and you love, but that lightness is also play. It's getting back to the origin of not taking life as not serious, but as a game. We come here to play a certain role as a certain person, and there are probably predictable experiences that we've chosen to take on. So let's, take them on in a lighter way. So first, for the listeners, choose a number from 1 to 12. Lauren, you too. Okay. Choose a number from 1 to 12, just real spontaneous here. And then draw, sketch how you see yourself. Just a real quick little sketch. How do you see yourself? We'll pause. If you guys are listening, you can do just a real quick little sketch. Because what I want to do is tie this all into the principles of change. And change can be evolving spiritually or can be changing. But any way that you change, any way that you step more empowered into who you are is always something spiritual. We coexist on all different planes. And you could take that like in the chakra system or as a psychosomatic illness therapist, which is one of my specialties, why I'm so scientific and biological. We just talk about 5. You're on the physical plane. And so when life becomes more interesting, how, Lauren will talk about even consciousness, is when we become conscious that what's happening on a physical plane. Let's say you get a paper cut. What is happening on a physical plane is also mirroring what's happening on that life force, sexuality, inner creativity plane. And it's also happening in your higher sentiments, love kind of plane. It's also happening in your intellectual space, how you're thinking. And it's also happening on a soul plane. So what I find having a more enriching life is when something happens, you really want to reflect things that happen. You want to bring it home on the inside. What does that little paper cut say about physically what I'm living? What about my creativity or my sexuality? What about how much love I'm bringing into my life or giving? What about how I'm thinking? What's the message for my soul? Without overthinking, but I find that the evolution now requires this multi-dimensional experience right here in even little things like that happen. Instead, people are such in a hurry. They might get a paper cut and then they run to the bathroom, they rinse it off, they put on a Band-Aid, and they get on with life as if that weren't significant. And so, when I'm in, coaching people, I say, those little things have messages for you. For example, this one client, he was a little bit late for our call. And he says, oh, I had to go to the mechanic because yesterday I had this fender bender. And it's really funny how in coaching, if anyone, is a coach, clients really, really reveal so much, like in the first 10 minutes of a session without knowing that they're revealing so much. And so he just goes on and explains this fender bender and how this woman in front of him, and it was at a roundabout, and she was going too slow, and she's like in his way because he wants everything we say. And this is what I really hope that the listeners can take home. Everything you say is just a mirror about what's going on. So I'll shift this now into my studies as a psychosomatic illness therapist. So when I was, doing corporate training for, the first 10 years, and I was like, hey, I grew up in a family with 250 blood relatives. You can't tell me that we are one of 4 types. Even just being one of 8 types, you can't tell me that, because I saw the vastness, like close to home, living close to so many blood relatives, that we were not category capable of being put into little boxes. Everyone was so unique. And so my journey, my questioning, and I've always had a pretty synchronistic existence where I will just get this question. And it's like, I need to find a way to help people really understand who they are. And that led me to studying as a therapist to unblock psychosomatic illnesses with the power of words. And what we learned how to do is take people's words, because your cells vibrate at key words. And when people will explain what's going on in their life, plus the personality profile, they can have, this one woman had hives. We've gotten people out of wheelchairs with multiple sclerosis. Cholesterol is a real easy thing to take care of. All of these like disorders that people have, we just have them say a phrase that's keyworded for how they explain what's going on in their life, and go in front of the mirror and just look at themselves in the eyes and tell themselves this. And what this does neurologically, it gives the brain the reality of what's really going on with them. Because in psychosomatic illness therapy, we distinguish a lot what is real. Real is biology. Real is the cut on the finger. Real is the fact of the fender bender. Real is the blood test. That's real. And the difference between reality and truth. So in the spiritual world, a lot of people talk about truth. But what happens is that illness will come when the truth you're telling yourself is not the same as reality. And so that's why even in spiritual journeys and in coaching, like I said, across the board, from very spiritual to, let's say, highly logical, rational, I go back to science and biology and facts. What manifests, and what is the energy that has created that to manifest? I find it fascinating because it gives people such fast answers. They get the meaning, they tell themselves in the mirror, and neurons open, reconnect, and their body turns to health. And I didn't want to work in unblocking psychosomatic illnesses. I said, well, this tool is really cool. If I reverse engineer why people are getting that predictable disease or illness, if they have this thought and emotion and it creates this, how about if we reverse that and they can have an affirmation? They can say this to themselves. They can do more of this. And that's how they can reach the potential. So cool. So I've had a lot of fun really incarnating this methodology. And I studied it in French and Italian. And I've been in direct contact studying with, like Bert Hellinger, who does the family constellations, just a lot. A woman who I love, Anne Schutzenberger, and she did the ancestor syndrome. Because what we found is that the reason that either how people get ill or how they reach their full potential is information in their DNA. And it's there at conception. So I'll give you all a multifaceted explanation. So the bird and the bees explanation is that there is the mating, we hope making love with the father and the mother, and there is the meeting of the sperm and the egg. But already get this, what we researched is that the body of the woman, as in her ovaries, already know 3 months before conception. Like, get this, 3 months before conception, her body already knows that that egg will be conceived. I think that's really interesting biologically. So what does it tell me when the sperm and the egg meet? Is that there's already been a co-creation of a lot of, let's say, spirit structures. There's already been some kind of holographic information that's been aligning. And a woman that I study with and learn from and co-create with is Michelle Frink, and she sees energy. She sees these spirit structures with her 3D eyes. And so learning from her how this really takes place is so beautiful. So I hope even the listeners are enjoying. So how I explain it in my wording is that imagine there's a bunch of lightning bugs in your garden or in your yard. And all of a sudden, at a certain moment, these lightning bugs become sort of like a swarm. They take on a consciousness. And each one of the lightning bugs is like a spirit structure. And they have information, and it's from the DNA of the parents and the family genealogy and the conflicts and the past lives, or they're all these spirit structures. And all of a sudden they take on this swarm consciousness, like even Dr. Sheldrake would say when he talks about the morphic field. They take on this, and then at the moment of conception, or at, let's say, day 21 of pregnancy, when the heart has the first beat, then all of this swarm of lightning bugs becomes this one light. And for as much as I find it very interesting to go back and do research on past lives, what I've researched or experienced is that in that moment of that flash, of that, soul beingness, that actually the DNA of our family history, even though it all blends, what's closer to us to be able to feel or is the DNA of the genealogy, and we bring that into the gravitational pull of Earth, and somehow it is a more predominant sensation. And so for transformation or coaching or even spirituality, it's sort of the best place to start because it's closer, it's information that's in your DNA, where the spirit information is in a soul shiny place. But what really comes to us at the moment of conception are little projects that we take on of conflicts in our family history, and those are in our DNA at conception. They go then to form the brain and our automatic responses. They go then to form each of the cells and the tissues and the layers. And so with this, what I call personality profile is actually accessing in the different facets of your personality. I say there's 12 facets of personality, which is why I asked you all to pick a number from 1 to 12. That by understanding these, what I said before about the illness, the key words, when you know the key words of your personality, because it's information in your DNA, in your brain, in every cell of your body, those key words, when you know them mentally and you be them physically and you do them physically, is when you actually bring quantum light into your body. Because all of my clients, what they say, when I read my personality profile, I have so much energy. And it's the same, because I love, again, going back to Michelle, how we talk about energy. Energy loves to be seen. Energy loves to be recognized. Just as, imagine, I like stories. So imagine a mother delivers this baby. Well, the first thing people do is, oh, beautiful, oh, it's a boy, it's a girl. And, they embrace it. And there's the recognition, there's the joy, right? Oh, the baby's here, it's alive, I see you, okay? Think of the contrary. The baby's born and it's just taken away, stuck in the nursery, put in some, little bed, changed, not touched. They say that baby will die. Well, it's the same with us and ourselves. When we speak the language of our innate talents, the key words that light us up, and they're in your DNA, that's when all the cells are jumping around like party. They're having so much fun. They're like, oh, you see me? Yes. Oh, yes. This is because there's a co-collaboration with our physical body. And that's why I bring things very down to earth. Let's get into you as a person, your key words that really resonate with you, and you feel them because you feel lit up. And it's not a mental understanding. And this is, I say again, the background with the psychosomatic illnesses is seeing the change in people. How is it that person can tell themselves that phrase in the mirror and things shift? So what it is when at conception we take on the information in the DNA is very often what I call emotional memory. And this is something that I find is really the missing element across the board in all training or spiritual journeys. The missing element is that at conception, in your DNA, you receive emotional memory. So what does that mean? That means that until I know the memory, I really can't step into my potential. There's so many, I'll show you, because I have a little table over here with props. For example, I went and spoke to, a couple hundred entrepreneurs at a workshop, and a man afterwards comes up and he gives me his business card. So this is his business card, which is actually a booklet. And he's so proud because it's all of his activities and the things he does. And being that I have the scientific, background, and I understand that one of the principles of the brain is symbolic, and all our actions are either symbolic or they're animal for protection, flight and fight. So the brain is symbolic. The brain speaks in images. And that's why I asked you all to draw a picture of how you see yourself. That's so important. So I have this little business card booklet of this man. And I ask him my type of coaching questions, which are not, what do you want or where are you struggling? I look at the little book because it's full of symbolic messages for me, and the personality profile, not even knowing his personality. This book tells me everything about him. And I say, I'm going to ask you personal questions if I can. He's like, yeah, please, because I got so much out of this conference. I finally understood, this, that, and the other thing about my behavior. And I said, perchance, one, did your parents want a girl and you're a boy? And two, what is the pain of maybe a death before your conception or around your conception or birth? And, these are the questions that my clients get because I decipher the emotional memory they carry. And, people turn red because they're like, they're taken by surprise. And that's really important. You got to get people not in their mental story talking about things. You got to sort of shake it up. You got to disrupt it. He says, I can't believe you asked that. Actually, I had an older sister. She was 7 and died of an autoimmune disease. And my parents were totally distraught. And I was conceived 6 months after she died. So wow. Yes, to death. yes, they wanted a girl. And he's like, how do you get all that? And I said, well, I've got a workshop tomorrow if you want to come. And he says, I'm bringing my 20-year-old son with me too, if I can. If you can get all that out of a little booklet, what can you get when I fill out your questionnaire? So the story goes on and it still moves me. The story still moves me. So I'm going to be, as calm as I can. So, you understand now that this man carries the memory. The parents wanted a girl and he's a boy. What does that mean? He can never correspond to other people's expectations. So he's working himself way too hard. You saw the booklet. These are all his little companies. And until you understand, in my humble experience, or, helping people, the advantage of understanding this emotional memory is how is it actually using you, but burning you out or driving you to the ground? How is it that not knowing that memory is actually leaving you lifeless, de-energized? Because if it's the core of our DNA is emotional memory, that's the starting point to look at it and say, oh, I see you. Oh, my parents wanted a girl instead of a boy. And what I have my clients do is look over their shoulder and give a face, give a name, thank their ancestors for giving them this project. Because it's just a project. We take things too personally. Oh, I got to go to a psychologist because my parents didn't want me, or, look over your shoulder and say thank you. Because of that is why you're here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a project. Okay?
Some might not say thank you, but.
Well, but the thing is,
that, though.
Yeah. And
it's
with
shifting.
It's giving it it's owning the emotion, because you can be, an undesired child, but how you interpret that is very unique to you based on memory that you already inherited. And this is where this is where I have a little bit of a, I appreciate where we are now in training and personal development and professional development and spirituality, because it's all been fruit of a lot of people helping us to get to where we are. And I feel that my contribution is helping people get to another level. And it really is this key of emotional memory. We can't just think about things and change them. The mind is a different tool. And, we can't really use the psychological approach because it's always a little bit victim perpetrator. When you just say, oh, I got this memory. Cool. Now I got a project. with this memory, look at all the benefits I have. Because with, let's say, the pain of his parents wanting a girl and he's a boy, it actually gives him a multi-talented personality. He really is capable of doing a lot of things, the multitasker. Not everyone is, and so knowing the memory, though, you let go of the stress of trying to meet other people's expectations, and he can switch into, okay, yeah, I can progress. And it's a different management of the energy system. And I say, because you look inside the cells and, you laugh and you play with it. Oh, how cool, great, hey, cells, I see you. When I'm overworking, it's just the memory. Instead, I want to own my own life and leverage the potential and the talents. But let me get back to him and the story that I find so moving. He brings his 20-year-old, just starting college teenager, young adult, and they do the personality profile. And I see that actually the father has taken on some of, let's say, the pain of the older sister who died at 7 years old, but actually his son has taken on the project across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And since the mind, since I distinguish between brain and mind. So since the brain is symbolic, and it's also very, very metaphoric, and it's also the part of the brain that where there's more healing is actually the right brain, the female side, the emotional side of our brain. And so I just, tell this teenager, said, okay, well, let's get to your life purpose. Imagine that you're a mother in a delivery room and you deliver this beautiful girl, and the doctors and the nurses, they say, oh, it's a girl, and your heart just expands and you are so, this love, you're overtaken by this love. And then you see that the doctor reaches for the scissors and he's going to cut the umbilical cord, and you're taken over by this unknown panic. And something goes on inside of you, and you realize, if this doctor cuts that umbilical cord, this baby's going to die. Your life purpose is to be the umbilical cord. Your life purpose is to be the person that connects other people to keep them alive. Well, he starts bawling, eyes, because this is what happens when you reconnect neurons in a person's brain and gives them access to emotional memory. All of my clients will have this, and I'll tell this metaphor kind of story, and and that's when they can connect to their life purpose. And so, I'm telling this, and so his eyes are watering. He says, I got all the hairs on my arm are standing up. And he says, I have to share something. I can't believe you said that. In my free time, I am creating an app to connect college students so they don't have to study alone and feel lonely. I said, honey, you are spot on. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're already doing it. And now you know why. Yeah. And life, that's what I say, life purpose is so in our DNA with these emotional memory. They're not stories. They're actually an eighth of a second. They're an eighth of a second that neurons have been isolated in our genealogy because of some unexpected event that people couldn't handle brain-wise. They didn't fight, they didn't flight, they froze. And science hasn't proven yet. So this is where I got to find the answer. Science hasn't shown us yet how the billions of nerve cells in our brain can actually have us see pictures. But what happens in the genealogy when there's this freeze frame is that it comes through the DNA like a snapshot picture. It comes through like a Polaroid snapshot picture, if people remember that anymore. And it's like isolated in our brain. It's in the middle brain. And what we do is when we behave, is that we access that snapshot and we behave the same way as the snapshot pictures of conflict that we inherited. There's like no free will in that. Sorry. We are so much on rerun that we have no idea how much we rerun. And that's why I say what's going to be a big changer, I feel, in this personal, professional, and even spiritual development is really this, I say breakthrough, with me combining personal growth in a really fun, practical way, but getting people to the core of who they are, what the memory they inherited. And this is important because everyone says we're all unique individuals. Well, yeah, but what makes us unique? Our memory makes us unique. It's what we got from before we were here. That combination is unique. You are like no one else. So in the personality profile, which is just the keywords, it's not putting people in boxes. It's giving you the keywords of the emotional memory, so you tap into the talents. So your cells giggle and light up and they're energized. They're like, oh, you know me now, and then you do more of who you are. And what I find in the spiritual part of this is when there's the physical, tangible recognition, this is me as a person in my personality, that's when more soul, spirit starts to drop into you and give you those little signals that before you weren't able to perceive or even consciously elaborate. It's just, so I have so many stories. So
we call that embodiment. It's beautiful. We're not caught up in those energetics of the cellular memory. So let me ask you, Diana, what about past lives? This is when we're born into the physical genetics, but past lives as well. I know there's many that remember the fall of Atlantis, the fall of Lemuria, and even in my own experience, that still holds me back. I can witness that in my own life, right? And so affirmations, you're saying the words, the key words, turn it around. So we can go into some examples of that as well. Okay. But I want to let you do your numbers. We did those numbers and the pictures too. So I guess we're going to get to that because that's going to be revealing.
Well, okay. In the process of the coaching, I will take, I do everything very playful and very colorful. And I think a reason, I know what you talk about. I'm really on with past lives too. And I find that, like the deja vu, we'll say it's like you've been there before or met something. I find that you can give more significance to that when you also know your human personality, as in you can associate it together. Why is it that I have this feeling? Oh, and what's this supposed to say to me in this incarnation? Because again, the risk with not knowing the genetic memory that you inherit, and the risk of fantasizing, oh, wasn't it beautiful that we were in Atlantis, right? You need to bring it home. You don't want to be repeating neither mistakes from genealogy and just rerunning and passing those down in the genealogy even further, because we see that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Neither do you want to continue the same thread of the past life without evolving. And so in the way that I coach, it's very, game oriented. This is the personality profile. And like saying past lives, I think I'm in Italy because I was here in the Da Vinci period. I could feel when I was in Padova, which is a city near Venice, where they had those underground laboratories and they were illegally dissecting human bodies. I feel like I have this resonancy with medicine and the first research with human beings, here in Italy, and also the color and the creativity, because we are in a place where we absorb the earth energy. And so I find that, having lived here in Italy for over 30 years now is a big part of that. So one of the game boards I use is this. So I call it the Vitruvian model, because Vitruvio was actually the architect who was explaining proportions that Da Vinci made then the Da Vinci Man. And so if you notice, there's layers of personality. There's the 3 core personality facets, what I call them, that are really who you are 24/7. And then there's actually another layer, which is what you need to be emotionally energized, and then intellectually to solve problems, how you keep your balance. So there's layers of personality. And so I take people through the layers. Let's get to the core, your life purpose, the core thing that you're here to solve, even in the genealogy, so you don't pass it down anymore, okay? Then your energy layer, get them feeling more capable. Yeah, I can balance my life. Being who I am, I've got it all inside. Then the next layer is when you take who you are and your energy field and you go into relationships, you go into work, you go into society for contributions, you go to your home. That's an outer layer. Once people have this knowing, oh, yeah, I am like this, but I am also like this. Oh, yeah, that's what I use. That's how I show up more at work. Oh, yeah, that fits. It starts to fit. And that's so cool, because I'll use like another example. Would you really walk around day in and day out in a pair of shoes that didn't fit? Now, if you had a choice, you wouldn't, right? You don't want all those blisters on your feet and all that kind of stuff. You would find a pair of shoes that fits. And it's the same with personality. There's so much trial and error. And then nowadays, we get distracted and we follow the latest fad and, oh, I got to do this. And it's always disconnecting us more and more from who we are. We need to find the fit. So in the layering of personality, I take people first through this DNA. And then what I find, what comes up after that are things that are maybe some kind of childhood pain. And what we do is what is called conscious transformation technique. It's developed by George Duisman. He's really, and I believe there's about 10 people of us that do this. And it is a simple Tai Chi or martial arts technique that you want to tap on the opposite side of your body. It's what they use in martial arts. And we simply just, ask for the healing of this memory of, you were 10 years old and not comfortable in a bathing suit. And there's sort of like a procedure This is what people need to do always. I'm going to get off strain, so I'll come back. But please, everyone, write down to either walk whenever you're stressed. When we're stressed, our body only goes on one side. It's like the energy. And to balance your body and your energy, it's always crossover. And so you can either do this, you know, tap. It's the same as EFT, but this I've found more effective and faster. And so really in 2 minutes, not even, we just go through this little phrase and tap away those little pains and things from their current life. And then the layers, and then they've experimented some energy shifts. They've got a clarity of knowingness that's opened their heart. And that's key. You know, I get it. This layering is key, because it's when their heart is more open that something will surface that's useful. Oh, now you got it, that in this life, this is your real, tangible, practical purpose. Oh, and then the soul starts to bing, bing, but this is in the way. And we do the exact same process by just sort of, you know, closing your eyes and say, you know, okay, well, let's go visit what could be the optimum block or something. And people without hypnosis. So if anyone knows, like Dolores Cannon, I've studied a lot of her work. Even for as much as I love that woman and her work, things have taken on another level again. We don't do hypnosis transformation. People just naturally, and I say with the layering, because their heart is expanded, the soul wants to come out and speak. They really just close their eyes and drop into a past life experience. And what I find really key, especially for the people that want profound transformation, is what I've found is, since we're in a body, and since we're in a body that has emotional memory and also emotional memory from past lives, the transformation actually occurs when you feel it. Because a lot of people will want to be doing the meditation and they're going to be wanting to transform things, but they haven't surfaced. We want, when you're ready, we want you to have things surface that you know what to do with, because just the basic informational, and I don't want to come off as, sassy or anything, but because I've been in the spiritual journey for quite a long time, and I've pretty much always had an intuition and, talked to butterflies, that kind of stuff as a kid, being a little bit different. I see that there's a lot of curiosity, and people will mentally want the story. Oh, what was I in a past life? But it's here. It's the story. It's not transformational. Transformation is body, layers. And then the soul wants to speak to you because you've already gotten the first couple steps. You've gone through nursery school and, kindergarten and first grade. Okay, well, when you're ready for middle school or college, surface what's necessary. And then we do the same thing. People will cry. They see this scene in front of their eyes and they're like, oh my gosh, and this is going on. And this one woman, she's having a difficulty. She is a social media marketer. And she's great at promoting influencers, but she has some innate abilities that are out of this world. And so now this shift of, I can promote everyone else, but I can't promote myself. And so what we call, let's tap on it. We go into this real simple, just close your eyes. And she sees herself as a belly dancer. And so, I love to participate and guide people in these because the stories are so beautiful. And she's seeing that she's this belly dancer and she's loving it. And she can see with her eyes. This is what I find. Science hasn't explained it yet, but it's so beautiful. And she's seeing the color of this red dress, and she's describing it as she's seeing and how she's moving. And she finishes the belly dance and she goes home and she's actually beaten by her husband. And so here's this, oh, well, do I do what I love? Can I do what I love still and pay the consequences? And doing what I love is going to have physical consequences. And she's reliving this. That is what's so cool, is sitting on a Zoom call at 11 o'clock in the morning doing a coaching session. She's there. And then she sees the evolution. We tap away the pain. And then she sees the evolution where actually she, in this body, she shows up in a gorgeous blue dress, and this woman is teaching her, and the takeaways are amazing. And so, I love, and thank you for asking about the past lives, but I put that, process of layering because I find that there's some things that you really need to be clear on first, and you need to feel the shift in yourself first, and feel more energized, aligned with who you are in your 3D experience. And then that will layer the consciousness, the conscious awareness. And let me add this on. I add a lot of things on. So, I hope the listeners are either taking notes or you can help me jump back to wherever I was.
Layers. Now, you're adding layers in the right way. Positive layers. Reprogramming.
Well, what everyone will say about the new generation. Now, when I studied as a psychosomatic illness therapist back in 2000, there were already articles in French and German about a phenomenon that they called double brain. And we were already understanding that, like, let's say 15% of the children born before 2000 or 1995, they actually had the double brain, which means that the synapses would fire at the same time. And so scientifically, to explain consciousness is when you have activated both hemispheres of your brain that can fire simultaneously. Now, what they're showing in this kind of research, as I'm studying, the children that come in very aware, the children that, can see energy with their visible eyes, that are obviously holding a 9th or 10th dimensional vibration. What I'm seeing is this phenomenon of both hemispheres very developed. And so the process that I take people on is predominantly the right brain to get into the creativity, to get into the emotional part of being. Because we're in a physical body with emotional memory, your spirit will speak to you through your body, through the emotions. We must have a meter inside our body that's our emotions to feel if something is aligned with you or not. And so many people, and I, because I'm holding back being too direct. Even for the listeners, how often do you make excuses? Don't have enough time. Oh no, there was too much traffic. Whatever kind of excuses you make, you must know that every time you make excuses, you're disconnected from yourself. Every excuse is a disconnection from who you are. And guess what? If you're disconnected from who you are, You're disconnected from all that is. You're disconnected from the universe. So you can meditate, and this is where I get a little bit direct. You can meditate to your heart's content. You can do whatever spiritual practice. You can have your house full of crystals. I do, you can have whatever you think is going to help you on your spiritual journey. It's in your daily, how you speak to yourself. If you're making excuses, there's just so many ways that we're disconnected from who we are. That any kind of manifestation process, and I'm going to write it for 21 days, it's a waste of time. It really is a waste of time. And I say that even, my heart sort of bleeds because I see so many people yearning, just like babies. It's in our DNA and all of our lives. It's in our soul, in everything that we are, the yearn to evolve. Just as babies, they'll learn to sit. And then the first thing they yearn to do is crawl. And then they yearn to stand up and bounce around on the sofa. And then they yearn to walk. Then they yearn to run. We have that program. And so what I see a lot of times on social media, because now that I've gotten into my direct mode, I see on social media so many people posting about, I am enough. And I want to answer, honey, you're not. Because that's not why you're here. You're not here to be that little baby sitting on the ground and I'm enough just sitting. Look at me. Sorry, there's a yearning in you. So why don't you just start practicing crawling? It seems like, it seems that there's so much just feel good or passiveness. And that's not why we're here. It's hard work. It's hard work to go on a personal journey, to really look inside of yourself and say, I was enough today based on my energy and my consciousness, but tomorrow I want to be more conscious. I want to be more aware. I want to access these two hemispheres. I want to be more creative. I want more vitality. And not that, give me your feedback on that or your observation.
No, people do want more vitality. And I was just thinking as well, so these excuses that come up, and I am guilty of it as well, right? We all know we can make some excuses. It's really getting in our own way. Otherwise, we could call it sabotage. So what do you say for that? It's like really look at the excuse and how do we shift it? Some could say, oh, maybe I'm scared of what other people think. Any of these programs, any of these layers that you're talking about, these emotional memories, it's becoming whole with it. That's the true healing with it. And so how do you get over the excuse? I would say that what you've been talking about is the awareness of that excuse is actually like 80% of the work to deprogram it, right? Well, so how can someone shift out of these excuses? I know we're going to see these excuses now.
Yeah. So now everyone's saying, oh my gosh, Diana told me, and do this even as your personal growth. Write down every excuse that you make.
Yes.
Who cares? And that's why I say we want, the open-heartedness and the lightheartedness. Everything goes back to the principle. We inherit emotional memory. Everything. You couldn't have a thought that wasn't already associated to that snapshot, inherited picture in your brain. You couldn't. You can't have what isn't already in you. And that's why the work that I find so transformational and fast and fun is with this emotional memory. And so it's just way too generic. I'm wondering what everyone's going to think about me. It's way too generic.
And it's a program that runs very deep. It's very generic. Okay.
Yeah, but when you can get to what is the core, okay, what makes us unique is that our memories are different than anyone else. There is no combination of, a sperm and egg. There is no combination of past life experiences so the memories are different. The thing is that we've been taught to be different than who we are. We've been taught to be who we are. And so we've lost the feeling who we are, if it feels right. And I find, the only way is, we have an offer. I have an offer here. Lorraine is so kind to have this. Just get a personality profile. It's, and I am, it's uncomfortable, the salesy part. It's just that I see so many benefits. And for example, and I'll show you the pictures now, when the only way to change, okay, a lot of people in my industry, I say like self-help industry, they'll talk about reprogram the subconscious. That's not biologically, neurologically necessary. The subconscious exists like this man's little booklet to put in a symbolic way what's going on with you. It's only subconscious under the level of consciousness because it's the game. It's the game of life. It's a little bit of hide and seek. Studying as a psychosomatic illness therapist, we studied the meaning of every tooth, every bone, every tissue, every organ, the symbology, the etymology, what words mean in their origin. And so even when clients, I just sort of scan their teeth and I understand right away, mother more dominant, father more dominant, wow, their relationship with them. Clients will come sometimes with rings on certain fingers, and I understand right away their relationship with people in their family. Wow. Because it's symbolic. This is the way the subconscious. And so if you have a tool to bring that to conscious, now I can work with it.
Yes.
Everything, every little charm, every picture, everything that you have has a subconscious symbolic message for you. It's just that you don't know what to associate it with. And that's where consciousness in the game of life becomes so much fun. Where, clients will say, I was walking down the street and I don't know why this book caught my attention. Okay, so then we can talk energy. Okay, you are radiating your beingness. And whatever is in alignment with your beingness is going to start to talk to you. That book that's also a sentient being is going to talk to you and say, hey, look at me. I've got more joy for you. Come read me. We need to get in this playful way that the things around us and where our attention goes wants to talk to us. So slow down, have a conversation, bring it home. Oh, thank you, book. And I mean, I'm saying this in a playful way, Oh, thank you, book. What would you like to tell me? What does this say about me? How are you going to help me on my journey? Thank you that you were so aligned to my energy to make me look in that direction. And that is such a more beautiful, more consistent, daily, moment by moment practice when you really are in that knowingness. I'm going to shine my light, and everything that wants to communicate to me to help me shine more light is going to get my attention, you know. But in the coaching process, for example, people will draw their self-image pictures. So you guys, what kind of picture did you draw? And I have people draw pictures like this, very simple, normal, how they are, even sometimes sad. You know, it's where are you now? And then when we go through the layers, this is a woman, very successful CEO. This is how she sees herself in her picture. That's the very beginning. And then we start to go through layers. So look at the first 2 layers of her personality. So this is all accessing, this is putting from the key words into her as an energy vitality person who wants to be more of herself and do more of herself in the right brain image. And why this is so important, one, like I said, to access more your right brain, because that the double brainness is the key to consciousness and more advanced problem solving. And imagery, because we're in a holographic universe. Everything is an idea. Everything is a holographic geometric form that when it has meaning, it gets the energy to manifest in physical form. And so people drawing their self-image picture is a moving picture as if they were giving holographic form to who they are. And it's playful and it's creative and it gets them out of overthinking. So with the personality profile, you get the keywords so you can turn your silly mind chatter off. You got the words, you're clear on it, close down. Then instead of overthinking, what should I do? It's okay. What the exercise is draw yourself, and your daily practice is project from your conscious mind now onto the screen of life that this is who you are. This is who you are. So she's made major shifts. She was actually fired from her job.
Show us that image of that she drew again.
The 2 pictures are, this is the core of her personality. And she's the leader and she's getting the good ideas and she's on top of it. But look at how the second layer of her personality is so different. This layer is so much more joyful. This layer is serious. And what she said is that I have been overworking. And so I've incarnated only the serious part of me. And I've become too much that person that everyone can count on. But that's not really who I am, because my energy layer is joy and party and this. And then the final layer is actually even more out of the box. So she has realized in this process that she's been this closed, tight, serious person, because that's who she's expecting everyone else to see her as. And then she's adding on these layers. Well, no, I'm actually joy and rock music and wild. And she's adding on these layers and she's understanding, okay, now instead of working in a traditional company to leverage my solid, success-oriented core personality and giving some of my visionary original ideas in a static company that's never going to change. What actually fits me more is being in one of those kind of startup, young, full of visionaries, change the future kind of company, but being maybe not in the legal department, but being their solidity, being the person that does the foundation work, being the person that is not so far out, but understands the far out that's going to create the future, but making it step by step. And this kind of realization, I haven't found in any other kind of coaching process, because the majority, even, personality assessments, you're one of 8 types or whatever, they don't take into consideration that it's emotional memory. And so with understanding the project that she's taking on, it's just a different thing. So even just to explain, a little bit,
It's
for the call. Go ahead.
Well, it's really the inner work. It's becoming whole again. And, you could go on a shamanic journey and do this to retrieve aspects of the soul, but you're doing it based on little traits that are present in our life. So a little bit of awareness helps us hone in and make whole again for that great transformation.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And it's a fun, very rapid self-awareness kind of process. So there's not really any figuring things out. What I'll do, and even offering here for your community, is what I call a power hour. Mm-hmm. And you get the personality profile and other masterclass that you can do on your own, but you can actually have a call with me, and we'll do this picture together. Like this one woman, so here she begins over here, and then she evolves the picture to finally become this. And it is when, the thing is, we want change. And I find that the more biological, the more neurological, the more you work with principles of the brain, since it's your central command system as a computer, really, the more you work with the principles of the brain, the faster you catalyze change. The brain, and then you quiet the mind. You give the brain the clarity, you quiet the mind, and that's when the soul comes in. So with the brain, change, you can't have change, because the brain is symbolic and imagery based, unless you change the image of what it's like. That's why the drawing the picture is so important. There's so many reasons, biologically, neurologically, and spiritually, that make this so fast and effective. You need to see how you are now. Oh, and now I have new, greater conscious awareness of my innate talents, of what I got from the past, what I could be doing, applying my talents. Oh, I'm going to put that in a picture form. And in no time, the person changes. And it impacts their daily behavior, because they see it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm not just this little picture. Look at how much more. And because it comes through energetically, they love the connection of being who they are. There's this energy transformation, transference to the piece of paper, to the colors, even if it's just stick figures, because that's what I draw. But it becomes a living being that they bring into, and they're like, now I know how to live my life and solve my problems just by being myself. So, I've got lots of pictures of the changes that people have from just regular how they see themselves, and how, after just the words and what it feels like to be them, and how they shift the movement, because it's all about energy, right? And the emotions of, oh, I recognize who I am, and it feels good, that lights you up. You're getting, because this is a quantum conversation, I'll go back to that. You, with this recognition of the information in your DNA, in your brain, as your talents and your predictable bad day brings quantum light into your cells. And it's just so energizing. And it's fast because you don't have to figure anything out. You get your profile, it's there. How you get your profile is by filling out an open-ended questionnaire, because just like this man, you will give me your explanation of your ideal job or your challenges. And in there, there's so much information that with the personality profile, I piece together so you can work with it, so you can finally step into you.
That's empowering, really. When we talk about New Earth and when we see the old systems crumbling, this is really so beautiful. It is really how we bring forward our incredible light and our gifts and our passions, and we will be provided for, because that's creating an energy field of our authenticity. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
You're
So I
welcome.
want to give you a moment to talk about that, because it's on our special offer that you have for us. And there's two options there. And there's some bonuses in the Power Hour, which is a beautiful session with you one-on-one, right? And then you've got an option that's maybe scaled back, but it allows people to kind of peek into it a little bit if they wish. So share that with us, those two options.
Okay, well, I call it Your Life, Your Way. It's both because my book was Modus Vivendi, which means your way to live in Latin, Modus Vivendi, Your Life, Your Way, and also, the coaching methodology. So what differentiates this also from, let's say, other personality assessments or whatever, is when you get your PDF of your personality profile, it's in the first person. So you get yours and it's my life, my way. And all of the explanations are, I am, I do, the other assessments are all in you. Well, how can that be? Because then it would be you talking about, so there's a lot of up leveling that I'd like to contribute to the coaching industry, starting with understanding the brain and even how these assessments are brought. So when you read it, you're reading about you. And so the personality profile is the 60-page manual, and you have the explanation of each of the different 12 facets of your personality. There's a 4-part masterclass. I'm sitting here in this room, you'll see the red wall, and I'm walking you through, like coaching you. Okay, you're on this page, read this, do this exercise. And I'm pretty much like this all the time. I like to be very personable, encouraging you to stay on this journey. And you really can go through your personality profile and the master classes in like a Saturday morning. Get a cup of tea, a glass of water, take a bathroom break. You can really go through this whole thing and get a whole new conscious awareness of who you are. And that's just, the do-it-yourself. And I offer that at a very low entry fee, because part of my mission is, providing the personal empowerment programs. And there's a lot of P's in this, and I did it on purpose, at prices that most can afford. So the personal empowerment is through the profile. And the second objective with that is to offer people the opportunity to have a more meaningful life. There's so many distractions, and they're increasing all the time. And meaning can be ours in every moment when you're consciously aware of who you are. And like I said, with the book, the energy that grabs your attention only because it's a reflection of who you are. And living in that space really makes every moment meaningful. And what you put your energy and attention on, instead of things grabbing at you, there's an energy flow of things and experiences and people and objects that want to co-create this union of a more peaceful you. When you're more peaceful, more loving, you're coherent with who you are. That is an energy vibration that goes way beyond what we can imagine. It really, really does. And the second offering is the same personality profile, the master classes. There's even blueprints with the profile, so you can do your personal affirmations and understand how to create your desire list. The other one is the power hour, so you do get the one-on-one time with me. It's maybe double the price, but it's really well worth it. And what I'd like to also do is, if we can get a group of people doing the power hour, then how about if we even form a Facebook group and do like 6 weeks? Because what I found with my clients is when they go on a journey and life happens, they want someone to confirm that. This one man, he is, I love my clients. One, as you saw by the pictures, they're so committed to doing the work. This one man messages me and he's like, well, you told me that I'm sort of like this lighthouse or this star that shines, and I'm here to guide people. Well, I'm on business in a city that's not mine. 3 people have stopped me already for directions. And he writes me this message: is this personality need I have? And I get so tickled. I was like, yes, you're spot on. You're finally glowing with the essence of who you are. So just showing up and being an energy coherency, like the light. I'm the go-to person if you need direction. You have strangers feel that. We are so much more intelligent than we realize. And our subconscious is giving us these little inputs like, oh, that's the go-to person, or that's not. And I was like so thrilled that he got this really tiny, if he hadn't had this awareness, he would have either been irritated. Why are people asking me directions? I don't live here. Or he would have lived it in a detached, like, oh yeah, drive down 2 blocks, or, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not from the city. Go ask, the first restaurant. Instead, he could use this very simple, seemingly insignificant daily kind of thing that can happen to any of us to re-energize his life purpose. And this is what I say, your life purpose is there. His life purpose is unfolding when 3 people on a random day in a city that's not his ask him for directions. And if you don't have this conscious awareness of, and I say, your keywords, your personality, the image of what it's like to be you, and you really step into that, you miss savoring so many beautiful things that really do come into your day-to-day experience, because you don't know how to give them meaning. And I have so many stories about this, because it's the journey. So getting back to the power hour, we can get in like a Facebook private group and be on for like 6 weeks and go through the personality profile, so you can share the changes, what you're taking away, what aha moments, what little light bulbs, what are you noticing about yourself? Because it's more effective to have someone guiding you, to be there when these little kind of strange things, happen, and you're wondering, now, which personality need is that? And you want that confirmation. I always get tickled, because I think it's just it's so cute when people are more of who they are, and they have this lighter, more fun energy. Can I tell a personal story?
Yes.
Okay. The unfolding of the personality profile And along with the personality profile, I created a game board that people use with their cards that are the 12 facets of personality. So it's like this. This came to me from like two very touching for me sort of situations. One, a friend was having a baby, and he posts on Facebook, oh, my daughter's born. And if you can imagine, and these are sort of weird stories to tell, but I'm sure your community's going to understand. This picture of this baby actually came and talked to me and said, Diana, you need to make your coaching more playful. I'm a healer, and you need to help my parents understand who I am. But it's got to be like in a book. It's got to be a game. It's got to be something playful, because I'm a child. I want to play with who I am. So, that might sound really woo-woo, but, I have a lot of those kind of experiences. And so within that week, I downloaded, I had the information of the personality profile, like the personality needs, the types, and I was just explaining it to people without like a written format. And within a week, it just all totally unfolded. It had to be the game. It had to be this kind of format. And what was really, really interesting is that since there are 12, I was helping people with 12 facets of their personality. I actually took a dice, a 12-sided dice, and I unrolled the dice. So each of the 12, so the dice being unrolled, so the one 5-sided piece was just laid out next to the next one to make like a path. This is our unique path, right? And what is so funny is, do you know what my mother has called me since I was a little girl? My mother's nickname for me is Dice. And that's why I say there are so many things about our spiritual journey in a practical way that are right there in front of our face, but we don't know how to use them. And so when this flash came to me, thanks to this baby girl who was born, 12 sides, I need to take a 12-sided dice. I am Dice. This is a personal story, so maybe the listeners aren't moved, right? But so much of what we do, the co-creation that we do, I'm Dice. Dice is the tool that I use to help other people. There is no difference. And something that I found very profound, and when you talk about deja vus or past lives, when I went to study the meaning of the dodecahedron, which is the 12-sided dice, I went and studied the Platonic solids. So back Plato, a little bit of history, 300 like BC, he had the Platonic solids, which are, the 4-sided triangle, the tetrahedron, and each are like fire, or the 4 elements, and the 20-sided one, the 8-sided one, the cube, we all, earth, so these are the Platonic solids. So Plato in his school, and it was a lot of mathematics, so, maybe Pythagoras, but in the study of the Platonic solids, of which the dodecahedron is a part, the students of his school could never speak about the dodecahedron outside of school, because the dodecahedron is actually the key to life. It's ether. It's the spirit. And when I was bringing all of this information together and connecting it in this coaching program that, simplified when I say personality profile, I really realized that, for 2,000 years, we haven't been able to openly speak about terrestrial life and ether, the soul. And now is the historical moment to blend this, practical reality with the higher dimension reality and make them one. And this is the origin of the process of the intuition that came to me, not from a mental space of putting together a coaching methodology, but from a very guided space of a lot of coincidences and voices and just being, putting the pieces together. So that's what I love, helping people put the pieces of their personality together that is so much multifaceted, like the 12-sided dice. So they play with their personality. And this allows this inner knowing with more certainty, allows the soul to speak to us. And so my next project, or a project that I've, slowly been getting people involved in, is actually a train the trainer program. So I'm actually now training, coaches, life coaches, success coaches, relationship coaches, even people in human resources to learn this methodology. And so this is, my way of expanding. So the majority of my time, probably from the fall on, will be more train the trainer. And then the trainers, the certified facilitators that I'll be having, I already have a few in India and here in Europe, will be doing the majority of the coaching. And I'm really excited because of the feedback from the clients and how rapid the transformation is. I feel like it's what we need now in the 21st century, to add some science, add some spirituality to what has helped us get to where we are now, from the positive psychology and all of the self-help kind of stuff, but really take it to a whole different level of self-knowing, starting with everyone living their life their way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Diana. It really is assisting people in this conscious creation in a whole new way. We are becoming conscious of us, and that's beautiful. So that is a beautiful special offer as well. We want to invite those who want to dive deep into what makes them tick, into that emotional memory, so that we can embrace it and be whole. So beautiful. All right, I want to put up a slide on our show here that has your special offer. There it is there. There's a link right there. It's also on any web page that you're listening to. Of course, you can always go to acoustichealth.com/special offers/Diana, and you can get her special offer that she is making available to us in order to really assist everyone who's ready to dive deep and to live authentically. I really can see the planet. I had a vision a few weeks ago of everyone living their authentic self with an attitude like, ain't nobody caring about what I do, but it was one that is with integrity and joy. And that's what you're working to do, Diana, is to help facilitate that, this authenticity and this uniqueness that we each bring. And that is a beautiful world. It really is. So I thank you for that. So
well, thank you.
Yeah, I want to, I've got a lot of notes here, but my little picture, it was really interesting. I don't have to share that because I know we got the gist of how we add the layers and how we transform pictures of ourselves into something so beautiful that we feel with our heart. So that was very helpful. You also had us speak pick a number between 1 and 12.
Yes.
So tell us what that's like.
So the pieces, let's say the facets of personality on this game board are from 1 to 12. So for the listeners, this is what I have my clients do before a free coaching session: roll the dice, because it's just in a spontaneous way. Where's the starting point, or where am I blocked? So if you chose in this little game of from 1 to 12, number 1, that's your core person. Who are you in your core identity? That's identity. You know, we cannot not have an identity. Okay. It's knowing really who you are in your core. So get more in tune with a knowingness. Ask your heart, who am I? You know, number 2 on the personality profile path is your personal project. Now, from emotional memory standpoint, this is the biggest, most long-lasting genealogical, let's say, family conflict. And it's really important that when you decide to exit this human experience, that you've really mastered this personal project. And I'll share something. This is a family. One of my uncles did a genealogy book, and this is our family, like 13 generations from 500 years. And so since a lot of the work that I do is with family history, when I studied as a psychosomatic illness therapist, I could go to this encyclopedia, bless my uncle, who put this, to see all the correspondences and how this emotional memory, how facts in the genealogy really do influence choices of career and profession. So in the number 2, in the personal project, there is something that you really feel I've got to master this, and make sure you dedicate time, energy, attention to that. It's really, really important. Now, number 3 is what I call personality plus. And a lot of people want to be this, but your personality plus is like a tool that you use to realize your project and to be more of who you are. And this tool, it's like if you would ask someone, oh, how is it that I get, for example, people say, well, how is it that you created this personality profile, this coaching methodology? How I got it? Well, my, personality plus is intuition. It's what I call the nurturing need. And so it's the tool that I use to do what I want. So connect with that. Is there, I find it's sort of ridiculous, to do the guessing game, because personality is so complex. There's 12 different facets, and you saw the pictures of the changes in people. Each of our needs is so specific to help us become whole, like you're inviting people to do also. So if you want to do it on your own, then just guess, oh, okay, do I need to get in contact? How can this tool help me realize who I am? 4 instead is your reaction. That means that you could be, if you chose 4, you could be a little bit too stressed right now and you're in reactive mode, which is, either fight or flight. So do more deep breathing, at least count to 6 whenever something happens from the outside. It's pinching an emotional memory in you. It's your stuff. It's all an inner game, but at least count to 6 so you can get more heart-centered. And so when you decide to act, it's not a reaction. So it's important to overcome your reaction. Number 5 is the emotional need. The emotional facet of our personality is something that moves us. It is something that is the why behind the why we do what we do. And in the family history, it is very painful, emotionally painful event in doing this research. And of course, asking, my family, diving into my genealogy, I just found out some very painful things. So I know that my emotional need is, like you're saying, help people be whole, help people be authentic, because the memory that would come, that is the driver of this need, is really abuse, physical, sexual, and that's happened in so many families. It's amazing. And that's the drive that we are on. Whoever speaks about authenticity is a drive to bring back the sacredness to a person, to bring back wholeness. And so that's my driver. Everything I do, it must be holistic. Number 6 is then your intellectual, I'm making sure, is your intellectual need. How is it that you solve problems? What is the key? If you chose 6, you might have sort of a mental problem top of mind, and you need to find a solution for it. It's like, I got to pull out this talent to solve that problem. So it's the intellectual. So I hope you're seeing that there's the facets of our personality are very useful to our day-to-day life, and they're charged with a lot of meaning. And then 7, if you chose 7, it's about balance. So where are you out of balance right now in your life? And if you knew your personality need, this would be the key. Oh yeah, to have balance in my life. This one person who's not materialistic at all. He is actually very futuristic, working in the artificial intelligence arena. But for his balance, he needs stability. And it's such a contrast to the other parts of his personality. But so his exercise, his practice is, once a week, I look at the numbers of my business, because having that stability allows him to be the rest of himself. So if you want to imagine, what is that? Where's your life off balance, and how can you add balance now, after this interview? Number 8 is relationship facet. So maybe there's a relationship right now that you're wanting to improve, a relationship issue that you need to work through. Remember that change can happen when you change the image. So draw a picture of yourself. How are you showing up now in relationships? How would you be more fuller? Who's the real you? Who's the person you love to be? Draw a picture of that, of you in relationships, and just start to show up to be that person. Because we want very often, so I'm already in the outer layer of personality. Very often we want to work on areas of personality. And I see you can't work on areas of personality if the person that's doing the work is like a half inflated balloon. If you're not full of you, fulfilled in you, you're taking an empty person or a stressed person to go work on a relationship. It doesn't work. You need to have the image of what it's like for you to be you in relationships. What do you bring, the value, your gifts to relationships? Show up like that. Let other people show up who they are, right? But the first step for now, draw a picture of how you love to be in relationships. And then 9 is the work facet, the talents that you bring that are specifically, uniquely yours, that you bring to work to make you know that you are in work. So draw a picture. If work isn't satisfying right now, draw a picture. What is the ideal work? Who is it that how do you want to excel your unique way? Okay. Then number 10 is home. If you have issues going on at home right now, what do you need? How do you need to show up at home to shift things? Could be you need to change home, or you need to move, or there's a relationship, but it's more specific about something going on at home. And then number 11 is social need. Very often that is if you want to come out stronger, or this one client wants to do a TED talk, that's a relationship with society. Are you asking yourself questions? What's my contribution to society? Then maybe you want to be honing in on that. This is just a fun game to take the coincidence of how just picking a number could actually pinpoint a starting place of where to focus my attention to improve that as a ripple effect, the rest of my life will improve. And then number 12 on the game board of the facets of personality is what I call the reconnect need. Reconnect, if you chose number 12, it could mean that you sort of lost yourself. Very many people lose themselves in a role, like maybe a mom. She starts to be a mom, and then like, who am I anymore? You know, or you're losing yourself in work, and you need to reconnect to you, to your life purpose, to why you're here. And when you reconnect, that's when the game starts again, and you can redefine your life purpose, get more in contact and connection with who you are, reorganize your priorities, your life. So this was just a fun little game. I hope it gave you some kind of insight to, oh yeah, wasn't that a coincidence? That's the number I chose randomly, but it speaks about something going on in my life right now. So I'm going to focus my attention for this next week on being more of who I love to be in that area of life.
Great. Thank you. Well, what a roadmap. What a beautiful methodology that you're bringing forward for rapid transformation. Really 21st century for New Earth, and for really assisting all of us into tapping into who we are and to use those gifts in such a beneficial, positive way. We're turning it from sabotage into support. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes, great way to put it. Thank you. Thank you.
Turn it from sabotage to support. This is the inner work that we do into wholeness on our journey here on this planet and to live our purpose. Thank you so much, Diana. This has been a beautiful quantum conversation, and we are out of time for now, but I want to remind our viewers and our listeners, if you are interested in taking advantage of Diana's personality profile and so much more with all those bonuses, please check out her special offer that is available. So, Diana, as we say goodbye, I just want to give you a moment to say goodbye and close our sacred circle.
Okay, my mission and wish and intention is that everyone can learn to know themselves, to love themselves, to be more of themselves. And when you connect with this, is really when you live a life free of fear. This knowing, this loving, this accepting, even where you are right now, is the journey of being free of fear. And with that freedom is actually when you expand the love of yourself that goes beyond you and really does ripple out to create the more loving space, more loving home environment, neighborhood, city, all the way out to the universe, and obviously here on Mother Earth. So my invitation is know yourself, to love yourself, to be yourself, to really feel that freedom and feel the empowerment, because you're unique and you can be so much more than you are already.
Powerful words to feel empowered and to really create, co-create New Earth by stepping fully into who we are. Diana Dentinger, thank you, thank you, thank you for this quantum conversation.
Thank you, honey. It was a joy and a pleasure to be here. And we'll be talking to everyone soon.
Thank you. Once more, we'll bring up the page that has information on Diana's special offer for our community. Check this out if you want to go deep within yourself and be your authentic, empowered self, the person you came here to be. Thank you, Diana, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will now dance our way to the cosmic heart. Enjoy. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.